what happens when you find a piece of property that's titled in a trust and nobody knows where the trust is, or you can't find the trust, or maybe the seller can't find the trust? What are the top 2 ways you could potentially find maybe where the trust is or something to do with that trust? So let's say, for example, you come across a piece of property, you've looked it up on the property appraiser, or you've pulled title, and maybe you know where the seller is, or maybe you're talking to that seller, or maybe you don't know where the seller is, and the topic of where the trust is comes up. Nobody can find it. They've looked around the house. What happens when they can't find it? Nobody knows where that trust is. The 2 top ways you could potentially find out where the trust is, or where there's evidence of the trust or ideas of who's on the trust, are from the title company pulling an abstract of trust and a certificate of trust. So, certificates of trust can be documents that are done at the same time the trust is executed. So those are things that actually could lay out who the potential trustees are, or potentially who the beneficiaries are, the name of the trust, maybe an address of where that trust is or the trustee is. So that's one of the first things that you can look for, is a certificate of trust. And certificates of trust could be found as a recorded document in the county records. So potentially, who could pull that for you are title companies, right? Title companies know where recorded documents could be, and when they pull title, there may be the idea or evidence of a certificate of trust. So that's the first way. The other way are abstracts of trust. An abstract is almost like a shortened version of a trust. It'll lay out who the trustees are, potentially an address for the trustee, or maybe a main address of where things can be found or people can be found for the trust. And that's another document that can be recorded on title. So where do you go for that? The title company. They're able to pull the title and pull some of these things that can be recorded. Now, maybe not all certificates and abstracts of trust are recorded. However, if you find yourself in that situation where you're trying to find out where an idea of where that trust is, or who's a potential trustee, because let's just say this, you're trying to do a skip trace, you're trying to find out who a trustee is, maybe the beneficiary's not a trustee, and you're talking to the beneficiary and they need to find out who that trustee is. These are 2 very important documents that can help you get to that next level. So I'm thinking out loud right now about seeing these things on the Facebook groups, on forums, and people asking where we can find these things. Again, certificate of trust, abstract of trust, they could be recorded in the county. Maybe they're recorded with the property, maybe they're not, maybe they're just recorded in the county, but those are 2 ways you can find out where these documents are. So, hope you all took a little bit of information from that on this new hot topic series, and I will see you on the next one.